All right, so one of the things you want to keep in mind is as you're building your business, there's different ways of doing it. And we talk about it all the time. Today we're talking about marketing and your sphere of influence, right? So everybody you meet has the potential for real estate, whether it's them or somebody else. Everybody has that potential. And what we want to do is we want to take everybody we meet and put them into our system, right? And if you're using Bold Trail, then they get a notice unless you've changed it, and you can change the settings on it. But anytime you put somebody in, they should be getting an email saying, "Hey, it was great to meet you today," or a text or whatever you set up for them. And there's the campaigns that automatically do that for you. You want to use the system for that, right? And we're working on building that out a little more, so we get more use for it. But if I was an active agent today, I would say probably 90% of my time would be working on Bold Trail because it's going to do things for you that need to be done. Maybe not 90%, but the majority of my time would be working on Bold Trail. On here, this is, and you guys can take a screenshot of this. This is not in the handout. We do have a handout that goes with this. Um, Marketing and SOI, and it's from Momentum from our Remax platform. And I'll throw that PDF in the chat as well for you because I'm certainly not going to touch base on everything on there. But it walks through marketing in general, right? Things that you need to be aware of. But 8x8 is the first one. So if I put somebody new in, they should be getting something from me once a week for 8 weeks. It could be a postcard, it could be a phone call, it could be a pop by, whatever. And then from there it goes to the 33 touch. And you'll see different people. In fact, I'm going to show you one that says 36 touch because people put their own little spin on it. And it's okay. It's all right, right? Just find something that works for you, and I can guarantee you this works for you. Absolutely. If you take it and make it your own, it'll work for you in the long run. You're building your business so that you can be doing this 5 years from now. 12 to 2, 33 touch program. 33 touch program. If you read what it says there, will result in a repeat, and referral business at the rate of one referral and one repeat for every 12 people. So if you have 12 people in your system, just 12, you're going to get 2 solid leads out of it, right? And these are people that know you that are saying, "Hey, here's who you need to use," right? So that works. And then the 12 direct, you want to send out 12 direct mail pieces annually to your haven't met. That's the subdivisions. And if you go through our training and you look at some of them, that's what I label as knowing your numbers. You need to know where to work at, what you're working on, and how that's going to work out, right? And the 12 direct program should generate one piece of new business for every 50 people you have in that. So if you have 1,000 in there, right, for one piece of new business for every 50. And so that's one of the things we want to work on as well with that part. Any questions on this one? All right, so I'm going to hit some of these others fairly quick. If you have anything, just unmute and jump in, and we'll knock those out real quick. Financial security of a prospector. You are in the business of sales, and sales is prospecting, 100% prospecting. Anytime you leave your house, anytime you leave your office, you should be looking for new business, right? And it may not be the person you're talking to, but who do they know, right? So everybody I meet, whether it's when I'm pumping gas or shopping at HEB or wherever you're at, everybody I meet has the potential for real estate. Maybe not them personally, but who do they know, right? And that's what we want to. And a lot of times we have to talk to them about that to make sure that they understand it's part of what we do, right? We're here to help, but we need to educate them on that because they may not understand how that works. So when we talk about financial security, know that the more you do, right? And that's why it has the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years. That the more you do, the longer you're in the business, the more it's going to grow, right? And that's why it's really great a lot of times to come out of the gates loaded for bear, ready to go. You're building for the future, and you want to keep it that way. All right, we're going to hit just a few of these on the farm. We're talking about the 8x8. We've already done that. And this is all in that handout that I threw in the chat for you. So you can grab it from there as well. But these are the things you need to have. A neighborhood website. I don't see that here in the Valley very often. I have seen it in Austin. I've seen it in San Antonio. where an agent has a website designed set up for this neighborhood. In fact, there was an agent that I knew that had a sign outside a subdivision. It was a gated subdivision, and the agent actually had a sign out there that said for subdivision information or whatever the subdivision was, go to this. And they had a website just for that. But the real estate agent is the one that ran that. It wasn't the HOA or anybody else. The real estate agent ran it. And so they were getting information from the HOA and they were putting it on their website and they were using that to generate leads as well, right? They're the source. And that's what we want to be, the source of information. So anytime you're looking at this, please note there's always ways of doing it. One of the things we need to do is take a look at the turnover, and that's why I say know your numbers. That's the way I address that class. Know your numbers. We need to know what the turnover rate is. We want a subdivision where there's some turnover. And I've mentioned before in Austin, I work one subdivision. I come here, I'm working three or more, right? I started out with one, then I went to three, and then I eventually just went to Harlingen, period. Because there wasn't enough turnover to do what I wanted to do. So we need to look at those numbers. And you do that in RPR, you can do it in MLS. Both of those, I've shown that. I just showed that the other day at the Harlingen office one more time to a couple of the agents. It's real easy to go in and identify them. Your farm area, that's what we're talking about, your farm area. If you want to farm a neighborhood, you need to see what's going on with it, right? And once you get that set up, it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to grow. And you want it to be like that. You want it to be like that. But then you have to monitor it. So if I had a subdivision where I've done all this work on it to make it mine over the years, and all of a sudden I see Michelle Sanchez gets a listing in there, I'm not going to get mad at Michelle. That's my fault. That should have been my listing, right? So what I want to know is what went wrong. And generally, you're not going to find that out from the agent. You're not going to find that out from the seller, but you will find it out from the neighbors. And there's going to be, I don't care how much time, how much effort you put into it, there's going to be times where you could have 10 houses in a subdivision and some knucklehead in there's going to list with somebody else. They're going to do that, right? And the reasons will vary. It could be they know you too well, so they don't want you to know their personal business. It could be they don't want you to know their financial situation. It could be a lot of things. So don't take it as being offended, but find out what's going on and how you can help the other neighbors in that neighborhood, right? That's what we want to work on. Stay positive with it. 8x8 listing postcards should be going out to them. Anytime you get a new listing in the subdivision, we should be doing new listings. We should be sending out a just listed. I wouldn't send just listed postcards personally. I would rather door knock. But in this, what we're talking about is the neighborhood update cards, and they're going out to the neighborhood. If I say I want to make this new subdivision mine, I'm going to do a blast out to the whole subdivision once a week for 8 weeks. I'm trying to become top of mind. Now, there are some better ways to do that, and we can talk about those through our other training. But like I send out a postcard that says, please allow me to use this means to introduce myself. I'm a local real estate specialist. I will be working in this neighborhood. I'll be by in the next few days to meet you personally. I was taught that in Austin. I used it up there. I used it when I came back down here. And that postcard works really well. And then you mail it out and then you go knock on the door. And if you have questions about it, just let me know and we can work on that. Where do you mail to? You're looking for a turnover rate of at least 5%. At least 5% in the subdivision. That's what we're looking for, right? And if you need help with that one, let me know. We can work on that one. The postcards, making sure that we get those out there in a timely manner so that we can work with them. And be consistent. That's why I mentioned the newsletter. It had to be in the mail by the 5th every month. What do you mean business cards, Angel? You can't mail business cards, can you? And we're just trying to do a different approach with it. But can business cards work? They can. And in fact, you should, if you will, again, different things work. If I was focusing on business cards and using business cards, I get it. I absolutely get it. If I was looking at using business cards and I was trying to make that my main source of contact, then again, out of Carla Cross's book, same thing I did back in '97, Take 15 of those business cards, and Tom Hopkins teaches this too. Take 15 of those business cards, stick them in your pocket. You don't come home until you've given all 15 of them away every day. 15 business cards have to go out before you come home, right? And it's not about the business card. It's about if I give you a business card, I'm probably getting your information in return. That's what it's about. And then I'm going to take your information and put you into my Bold Trail so that I can maintain contact with you. Oh, by the way, is it okay if I send you something about real estate every month? It may be about how to maintain your yard, how to maintain real estate, or what the stats are with homes being sold in the area. That's okay, isn't it? And then you ask for their email address so you can add it to the system. And that I've used that, it works. The 15 business card things, I mentioned this the other day in Harlingen. I got so busy in Austin with some of this stuff that I was trying to what do they call it, stack it, because there's other little things that go with doing some of this. And I was trying to do everything by day. So like the 15 business cards, I wasn't able to get those out. Just as an example, if you're not able to get those out, well, the next day you need to do 30, right? Next day you need to do 45. Because if you make that commitment, you need to stick with it. You're not going to do it just one day a month or every now and then, or just when you think about it, put it on your schedule, make it happen every day if you want to be successful. That choice is yours, 100%. All right, postcards, farm area. Again, you're trying to get the postcards out there because other eyes see the content as well. And that's true to not only the mail person, but neighbors, people, other people are going to see what's going on. They're more likely to share it than not. And the other thing is, anytime you put something out today, you want to make sure, in my opinion, you want to make sure you have a QR code on it that's from your website, a QR code for your website, and you can get that from Bold Trail. I would not send out a postcard today without a QR code on it at all. I wouldn't hand out postcards or door hangers today without a QR code on it. Not going to do it. Some agents are actually handing out business cards with a QR code on it, right? Any way you get your name, picture, Remax to the people that'll get you business. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely. Yep. You want to get that information out there. That's the whole idea. You're not trying to stay top of mind. That's what we're working on. All right, so here's some other real quick ones on here when we talk about the subdivision. I use this in Austin. I used it when I first came back to the Valley. This is really important when you talk about neighborhood updates. In Austin, I did the subdivision, and we teach this in the GRI class as well, where like when you instead of doing the 8x8, send something of value every week, and there we talk about send something of value every 10 days for 3 months. That's about the same thing, right? But the neighborhood update cards, that's what I would use. And that's what I was telling Austin, and I used them up there, and then I brought it back here to the Valley and use it as well. It works really well. So the first week, for example, I might send uh, the market information in that subdivision, like what you see on the screen. Uh, and I'll have your name and the company name, all that stuff on it. The next week, I might send something about what the company is doing within that subdivision, and I'll have the company name, my name, and the subdivision. And the next one may be about me in that subdivision, right? Like I'm doing an open house or whatever it is, but it'll be about me, the company, and the subdivision. And just rotate every card that goes out should be cover the three areas: the company, you, and the subdivision. Everyone that goes out, and you can use stats. I used average stats, and in fact, the one I got the most calls from here in the Valley when I came back, because I mentioned I started with a subdivision that wasn't enough, so I went to three. I still didn't feel comfortable with it, so I just started randomly sending them out. I was going through pause, uh, pause this just for a second. All right, and then as we look at some of this, and again, I'm trying to run through some of this fairly quick with you, so you also have the recording available to you. And anytime you have anything, there's some of this information is already on one of our three locations. We have recordings on YouTube. We have recordings on Bold Trail in the company cloud, and then we have them on uh, remaxelite.realtor. So you go one of those few places. Remaxelite.realtor is the same ones that are on YouTube. So you can pull them from there. The neighborhood update cards, this mentions doing it quarterly. I was doing them monthly because I was using that 8x8 to get that information out. I was trying to make that subdivision mine. So I was sending something out every 8 days back then. And like I said, the GRI now says every 10 days. But it works whichever way you want to do it. You make it yours. And again, if you don't want to, Angel threw in the chat about business cards being cheaper. So let me throw this out to you. Nancy Amundsen is our residential service contract rep. That's Old Republic, the one I showed earlier. If you call her or message her on Facebook, I did it this past week for Harlingen. She will bring you door hangers that you can put out. Now they will say something about Old Republic on them, just a little bit, but they can also be used for you, right? Years ago with a different company, had an agent that was trying to not spend a whole lot of money, so he used those. He wrote on there, open house, 123 A Street, 2 to 4, come and see me. And he walked the neighborhood, putting them out on doors, right? So that works. And if you get hold of Nancy, she'll get you some of those. She provides them because obviously that's exposure for her too. But you're the one with the trying to get the stuff out there and try to save a little bit on it, and it works. You're getting the exposure for you. And in that case, the agent that I was telling you about that used those for an open house that way, he just hand wrote it on there. Nothing fancy, right? On each one of them real quick. And it worked. He had a pretty good turnout. So there's different ways to do this. And that's the whole idea. I'll Yeah, I'll get that for you. I don't have I probably do, but I don't use her number. I just message her through Facebook. I'll show you that here in just a little bit. I'll write that down so I don't forget. So I gotta pick up the face here. Here's the quarterly farming. This is what I'm talking about. What's going on in the area? List prices, sold price is really important. I'll talk about that all the time as well, because list price and sales price is something I was taught to focus on. I don't remember which book I seen that in, but that was one of the main focuses. If I list a property correctly, me and the seller decide this is the right price, then it should sell, right? And I want the list price to sales price should be pretty close to 99%, not like the averages are. And usually look at the averages in MLS. You can see what other agents are selling, what the average sales list price to sales price ratio is in every one of our MLSs. And in most cases, it's running about 80 today. Yours should be considerably better than that, and you'll continue to grow with it and make it better. But that's making sure your CMA, that's what that pertains to, making sure your CMA for that neighborhood, for that particular property is done really well. And that's time consuming. It's going to take you 2.5 hours to do a good CMA. Dialogue. If you make calls, and again, I'm not one to make calls today. I wouldn't sit here today and tell you to make calls. What I mean by that is I would rather go knock on the door. So you could take this dialogue right here. Have you been receiving my monthly postcards? Do you find the information beneficial? If you didn't want to make phone calls, walk the neighborhood. You want to put a face with a name, walk the neighborhood. Put this on a sheet. And this is actually years ago with a previous company in Mission. I had a clipboard. They'd have a script, and they go knock on doors. Right? This works, and it was just like this. It was more of a for sale by owner or an expired script, but we also had one for geo farming that we used, not as much, but it was available. And it's the same type of thing like this, right? The move up buyer. You're looking for what's going on with the move up buyer. That's somebody who's getting ready to, and that's why I was talking about looking at the neighborhood, how long they've lived there, etc. That's a pretty important part that goes into it. You're ready for somebody to move up. That can go to your rental properties as well. If you have subdivisions that are primarily rental, those are open, right? Those are really good for postcards or door knocking. Again, in Austin, we had postcards we used. In Austin, we had postcards we used once a month. We'd take, I think it was once a month, might have been twice. I think it was once a month. We take postcards that we created, not mail them, but we take postcards we created as the source, right? And roll of Scotch tape, and we would walk this subdivision. You take that side, I'll take this side, you take that street, you take that street, and we go out, we just tape them to the door, right? And basically what they said is stop making your landlord rich. Why don't you buy a property, something like that, right? Neighborhood websites, I talked about that just to briefly know that that's an option. It's something that can be done. And today you might have a neighborhood landing page with your website and your social media. You might have something you created for that. There's so many things you can do. If you're doing a neighborhood website, here's some of the things that might be on there. Property tax information, right? How does that work? What if they want to protest their taxes? We're actually having a class in McAllen next week, I believe, where the instructor is, that's what he does. He helps people protest their taxes, property taxes, and et cetera. And he's teaching the agents how to do that. That's going to be at the McAllen Board of Realtors next week. And so there's options for you on there, right? But this could also be on your website. Free list must include personal information to receive the list. So ours can be set up like that so that if they click on it, they have to input stuff before they can get things, right? Almost a lot of companies do that today. And then of course you see recipes and other things on there. Social media, location targeting. When we talk about this, we want to make sure that we're using, again, even social media ads should be targeted for a specific area. Um, it's been a long time, but the last time I used Facebook Marketplace, I marketed an open house and I went for a specific area, right? And that worked. In fact, we ended up picking up a buyer for another property off of that one, and we picked up a listing off of it as well. Thanks, Michelle. For those of you that were asking, whoever it was that was asking about the phone number, the Nancy Anderson's Michelle put Nancy Anderson's phone number in the chat. Again, I don't usually call it. I just go to Facebook and grab her information from there. We've communicated that way. She has been sponsoring my classes since what, 2006, 2007, things like that. So she's an awesome resource for some of these items. 8x8. Once again, you can do, if you're not going to send out postcards and you want to do it cheaper, do it on social media. You can do the same thing, right? But make it a specific post for the specific item, right? We want to do that. And kids go door to door. Yes, right. Yep. So there's a direct message where she's addressing the fact that kids go door to door to put her door hangers out, which is okay. Um, the reason I smile the way I do is our youngest son and his wife, back when they were still in middle school, used to be um, that was a part of the deal. Some of you hear me mention that they were a part of the deal. He'd come in, Dad, I want to take to the movies, and I want to go to the movies. We're gonna go to the movies. I'd like to grab some pizza. I'm like, okay, I got 300 door hangers. You put them out over here, I'll pay for everything, right? Those kind of things. Um, yeah. I also know an agent that would hire Boy Scouts. So he'd donate money to the Boy Scout troop, and the Boy Scouts would go out and hand out information. Again, it just depends on how you're trying to do things. I've seen a variety of ways of getting that done. Rather than you necessarily doing it yourself. There's a broker in Brownsville that hired people to put out his. He didn't use door hangers. He used stickum paper. Right? They'd go up and they'd put this piece of paper on the door and it would stick. Because they put one on my repo. That's how I know that repo property. And I call him saying, "Hey, why are you guys? I mean, there's a sign in the front yard. Why are you doing this?" And he just laughed. He goes, "Hey, I paid somebody to do that. I'll talk to them, make sure they don't do it again." But and by the way, that's not a violation. If they're mass marketing the entire division, even if the property's listed, it's not a violation of anything as far as Trek's concerned. But it just looks awkward, right? It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't look well for the one doing the prospecting. The also on here, when we talk about financial security for the individual that's doing the marketing, the better you get the better you get at the conversations, the better you'll be. But the better the marketing pieces are, the better you'll be as well. And we want to talk about some of that. There's an example of, and again, all this is in that handout for you. Um, there's some examples of direct mailing. You have fixer uppers, first time home buyers, whatever. You can do a first time home buyer seminar. That could be a specific post where you're trying to do it for a specific area or a specific type of client. One of the individuals I worked with out of San Antonio several years ago, did a home buyer seminar at the VFW for veterans, home buyer seminar for veterans, right? And so that think about what you're trying to do with it and make that work. Just remember that you always have to identify who you are and that you're with Remax Elite. 25 door knocks around new listings, whether it's yours or somebody else's. This says 25. I like 40. And so let's say Michelle Berry gets a new listing. I'm going to do 10 doors on each side. I'm going to knock on the door, and it doesn't matter which company it's with, as long as you don't be misleading, right? Hey, this property just came on the market. I'm just curious. Do you know anybody that might be interested in moving into the area? And there's a script you can follow, and if you need those, you just let me know. We can work on some of that. But do you know anybody that might be interested in moving into the area? No, really. Well, when's the last time you thought about selling? And so it gets you into working on the listing side of it as well. Those work really well, but I do 40 instead of the 25. The phrase that pays, this is the Brian Buffini mark, if you will. That's what I look at it as, is oh, by the way, because everything he has is oh, by the way, right? Oh, by the way, do you know anybody who might be interested in buying or selling real estate in the next 7 days? Yeah, his might not be that to the point. That was actually Mike Ferry's script that I just gave you. But Brian Buffini has one very similar to that to help you get where you need to be. The phrase that pays is a part of what we want to do with it. All right. Any questions or comments there? Let's stop share. Questions or comments? Anybody? Nope. All right. So let me jump into the other part of this if I could then, real quick. And open this up. So I'm going to show you some PDFs and then I'll share them with you as well. This computer to work. Come on. There we go.